Happy Wednesday, veterans. Thank you for spending time with us today. Could be doing anything else, but you decided to be here, so thank you. Before we get started, today's topic, sound off in the comments, right? Um, Let us know where you're tuning in from, what branch of service, and the years that you served. We're happy to have you. I'm Coach Juan Flores, and I'm here with Coach Jenna.
Welcome.
Thank you for being here with us. A little bit about myself. I came here, as a client myself. Was in the Army, did 9 years in the Army, and then retired Air Force Reserves a couple years ago. So
Awesome.
I'm glad you guys are here. And we got Franklin, U.S. Army, 82 to 93. Thank you for your service.
Yeah. Welcome, everyone. Get settled. So exciting to meet all of you.
Yeah.
I'm Coach Jenna. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, and I served from 2005 to 2012. And I left the service with a 10% disability rating from an injury that I got when I was in Iraq. And, at that time, I had no idea there were other options. So, fast forward to coming here, getting myself to 90% through all of this fabulous education material that you guys are about to get a little taste of right now. So definitely welcome.
Yes. Welcome. You got Russell from Germany. I was stationed in Grafenwöhr, Germany. Yeah, it's awesome. I was there for 3 years. And then we got Ray, U.S. Army. We got a lot of Army vets. Welcome, Army vets.
Where's the Marines at? Come on. There we go. Dan, Marine Corps, 1988. All right.
You got Air Force as well, 10 years active. Ronald Childress, 20 years reserves. Thank you for your service. 82 to 2012. That's awesome.
Thank you, everyone, for your service. Truly, truly. So excited. Navy, Mike Saunders. Awesome. Navy and Marines, right? We go together hand in hand. Brothers and sisters. There we go.
You got Air Force coming in.
Yeah.
You got Rich McDowell, United States Air Force, 86 to 92. Coach Gill. He's an awesome coach.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, great hands with him. Yep.
Army retired from Ohio, Manual. Awesome. Welcome. Get you guys. Oh, I love seeing everybody.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We're gonna have a good Facebook Live today. We're gonna learn a lot of great information, and I'm very excited to be here with all of you. And we got Jake Holt with Coach Tony Rink. Tony's a great coach. Yeah. He's a great, smart guy. Yeah, very smart guy.
Yeah, a lot of great information.
Yeah.
Oh, we got Bill, U.S. Army, 1976, 1996. Awesome. Welcome.
Thank you, Carlos Pizante, Vietnam vet, Army 68 to 70. Thank you for your service, sir. Highly respect all the vets, but the Vietnam vets, definitely got to give extra praise for them, right? They served at a time that was very hard, very rough, especially coming home. But changed it. I think changed, for the better for a lot of the vets now. A lot of times now, well, all the time now, we come back from a deployment, right? We're looking forward to a parade, and Vietnam vets didn't have that. So thank you for your service, and thank you for joining us.
And welcome home from us to you, truly. I don't think you got to hear that enough. So definitely.
All right. So I talked a little bit about myself. I was in the Army, and I came here as a client myself. I came here at 10%. I tried going through doing it myself through VSOs and didn't work out for me. Right. So I said to myself, I need something better. Wife kind of pushed me. Got to give her credit. Um, and then once I came here to the program, learned a lot. A lot of education, and ended up getting to 100%. So definitely, the company did push me. It's a great program. Um, you don't know what you don't know. So tell all the vets, education and knowledge. It's very, very powerful. Powerful enough to change your life. I tried. When I was going through the program, short story, I was going through the program and I was learning a lot. Right, a lot of information. I was learning a lot of how I filed the claims the wrong way, everything that I was doing wrong. So I started helping out all my friends. I was still in the reserves, right? So I was helping out all my friends, and they were winning. Now they were calling me, congratulating me. I was congratulating them, and then we'd get together, celebrate, and I said, I got to try this. I really like it. Signed up, and this is a great job to have. I love when vets win, and that's what I'm here, and I think most of the coaches are here. They love seeing vets win.
Absolutely. I mentioned a little about myself earlier as well, Coach Jenna. I had my 10%, and I think like many veterans, I got it when I got out. I don't know how, you don't know how you got it, right? You just, hey, I know I got 10%. This looks great. And you move on with your life. It didn't cross my mind that I could do something different. It didn't even faze me that I was missing out on something. And a few years ago, I was job hunting. I was blessed enough to get hired by VA Claims Insider for a different role at the time. And I sat here just thinking, wow, I am so naive, right? I'm watching all of this education just in my face of, wow, that's me. Wow, that's me, right? Every veteran talking about what they deserve. And I'm thinking, wow, what am I doing here? And I got myself to 90% in that time. And I'm working on my last 10% right now, waiting for that claim to go through. So if any of you veterans are out there with some claims pending, I know what it's like to be checking your va.gov way too much, right? Delete that app. It'll drive you crazy. But I'm really looking forward to hitting that 100% mark. I feel very confident about it. And I just every single day just wake up feeling so blessed, thinking, one, all the years I missed out on, what I deserved, but now I get to help veterans every single day know the same information and get what they deserve. I don't think there's anything better. I've had quite a few jobs since I got out of the service in 2012. And doing this every day, it's just so much joy, right? I mean, we're all winning. We're all here for the same purpose. And it's just a beautiful thing. I can't describe it. So welcome home, everybody. We love to say that here because we're all about the life change, right? Definitely. Today, we get to know a lot more about top secondary conditions. And first, go ahead here and I'm going to dive into our disclaimer again, okay? Just to make sure this is clear, we are not accredited agents, VSOs, attorneys, or any other entity recognized by the Department of Veterans Affairs, and we are not affiliated with the VA in any way. VA Claims Insider is an education-based coaching consulting company for disabled veterans exploring eligibility for increased VA disability benefits and who wish to learn more about that process. VA Claims Insider also connects veterans with vetted independent medical professionals in our preferred provider network for medical examinations and independent medical opinions for a wide range of disability conditions. We are all about the strategy, the education, and medical evidence. Very important, veterans, medical evidence. And one-on-one coaching. So while you can't go wrong with any of the coaches you feel you connect with here at VA Claims Insider, I know that you're certainly going to be looking forward to, well, we're definitely looking forward to some of you here doing some one-on-one coaching with myself and Juan after this. So don't forget, we've got our sign-up links here going on in the chat. You're welcome to sign up anytime. You'll get that one-on-one coaching with myself or Juan. And you can certainly do that at any point in time here throughout the session. We offer strategy sessions, so you'll get that. Claim submission education, CMP education. So compensation and pension exam is what that stands for, if any of you do not know that acronym yet or haven't done that process. We offer live classes via Zoom. So obviously you're here at this live Facebook class, but you would be offered live classes via Zoom once you sign up through vaci1.com. Coffee with the coaches, an incredible morning place to go ahead and drink your coffee, chat with the coaches, other veterans just like you, right? Part of the program, going through the same thing, getting different educational information. We've got mental health exam education. Super important. Mental health is a huge, huge disability that veterans are dealing with and going through. We've got medical exam and CMP exam education. So a lot offered, okay? If you do want to just kind of learn more and not sign up directly with a coach, you are absolutely welcome to schedule a free discovery call with one of our fabulous veteran ambassador team. That is actually the first role I started with here. They're wonderful, and they will go over and they tell you more about what we offer in more detail, along with answering some questions, basic questions that you may have. You can do that by going to vaclaims.help, or you can just reach out to our organization. Both to the coaches signing up and to getting a free discovery call are available on our website at vaclaimsinsider.com, because we would love to partner with you on your VA claims journey, okay? We're going to dive into top secondary conditions, but first, I just think it's really important, right? We're about education, so I want to kind of explain what a secondary condition is a bit for those of you who are new to this or don't know. When filing a VA disability claim, a secondary condition refers to a medical condition that is a result or a consequence of an already service-connected condition. So, in other words, a secondary condition develops as a result of a primary condition that has been officially recognized by the Department of Veterans Affairs as being related to your military service. An easy example, maybe for some of you, is if you're already service-connected for a knee injury, you might later develop like back pain, right? Because you're walking different, right? That altered way, or your posture, right? As a result of the knee injury. So in this case, the back pain is considered a secondary condition to the knee injury, right? So you can't have one without the other, right? Can't have one, can't have a second without a first, right? So to file for a secondary service connection, you do need to show that the primary original service-connected condition exists, right? So have that claim approved. And then the secondary condition is related to or caused by that primary condition. All right, so I will let Coach Juan dive into our first top secondary condition.
Thank you, Coach Jenna. That was pretty good. Let's talk about anxiety, right? Secondary to tinnitus. Tinnitus is that constant ringing, buzzing in your ears, right? Pretty annoying. Especially, if the room's real quiet and you're in a quiet setting, it gets louder. It does cause emotional distress, difficulty concentrating, right? Had a lot of vets, talk to me about that it's hard for them to hear sometimes, right? Especially the person's not looking at them while they're talking to them. So it does cause a lot of annoyance, right? You might avoid public setting because of that. Might manifest, into other symptoms as well. Can trigger anxiety, restlessness, get irritated quickly. And the biggest one of all is could interfere with your sleep. So everybody knows how you get when you don't sleep, right? Probably not going to have a good day. Maybe have a rough time at work, rough time with the family, and with friends as well. All right. So that's a great condition, to or claim to put in, secondary, but like Coach Jen said, have to be rated for tinnitus first, right? Even if it's a 0, as long as it's service connected, you could definitely, look into putting a claim, anxiety secondary to tinnitus. All right. And then another one, right, that it's pretty good is going to be
Got
what do you think, Jen? Asthma secondary to
depression.
depression? Depression's good,
Yeah,
right?
depression. All the mental health, right? I mean, we've got anxiety, depression, PTSD. They do all fall under the same rating category, right? Just to make sure that's clear. But you can be rated for just one of those. Depression, secondary to tinnitus, is definitely a good one as well. And just to be clear too, those rating codes, right? The actual rating potential for any of these, and this is for any of the mental health secondary to your tinnitus, right? 0% it could be, but 10%, 30%, 50%, 70%, or even 100% just for the mental health category. Okay. And secondary to tinnitus, that definitely can be a common one. But also secondary to migraines, I think that's a really important one to focus on. I know that I hear this a lot from veterans, but headaches, migraines, right? We think that's very normal in a sense, right? You get really used to it, but severe migraines, they can trigger a lot of depression, right? Especially due to that chronic pain, a lot of social isolation caused by these debilitating episodes. You kind of normalize it, but it's not, right? You stop wanting to do things, you stop wanting to go out, stop wanting to be in places, because what if you experience a severe migraine, right? The resulting mental health issues, they can really significantly, I can't speak, impact a veteran's daily life. I know that for a fact. I know a lot of us deal with that. So that's really, really important to focus on. And same rating scale that you're looking at there, 10%, 30%, 50%, 70%, or 100%, right? Because you're still in that mental health category for those.
Another good one too is GERD, right? Secondary to anxiety. Anxiety can aggravate, right, your GERD symptoms. Acid production, reducing digestive efficiency. So that's a good claim to go after. And had a lot of vets, talk to me about that. And, it's a good claim, right? It's a good claim to look into, and keep in mind, when you do a secondary claim, right, made worse by an already service-related condition. So make sure that you are rated, right, for a mental health condition. Like Coach Jen said, anxiety, PTSD, right, depression, it all gets rated the same by the VA, right? At 0, 10, 30, 50, 80, and up to 100%, right? That's how the mental health claim gets rated. The GERD can go from 0, 10, 30, 50, up to 80%, right? So that's definitely a good claim to go after. Make sure you have your current medical diagnosis, right? If you want to put in a claim to do as a secondary, definitely go see your doctor, right? See your primary doctor, whether it's the VA doctor or if it's your private doctor, right? Get your diagnosis first before thinking about putting in a claim, right? And that goes for any condition as well.
Yeah, I like to mention too with GERD, especially because now how it's rated, right? The esophageal stricture test, said the word correctly. Esophageal stricture test is now important with that. If you want one of those higher ratings, right? Because the acid reflux or the difficulty swallowing, difficulty swallowing portion is really important now with that. So that's where that esophageal stricture test will cover that. Okay. So make sure you're getting that done with your medical provider as well. You're going to file for GERD. Other good ones here we got. Definitely IBS too, right? If we're speaking of GERD, right? got one, both options, right? Both ways. IBS, secondary to your mental health. I think that we can all agree that can definitely cause that. PTSD, especially, even depression, but they can exacerbate the irritable bowel syndrome a lot. So to be clear, IBS, right? Irritable bowel syndrome. It just really increased that gut sensitivity and any stress-related gastrointestinal dysfunction leading to chronic abdominal pain and altering those bowel habits, right? That can be rated from 10%, 20%, or 30%. So that's another good one.
Great
and even
information.
medication side effects for that too, right? Because you know, a lot of these mental health disabilities, you're dealing with medication, right? And the side effects of medication. So that can definitely cause some issues for you as well, both with IBS and GERD.
Yep, IBS is a great claim to look into. Another one is migraines, right? Secondary to tinnitus. Tinnitus can lead to migraines due to constant stress, right? You know, sensory overload, persistent ringing in the ears, migraines caused by tinnitus, you know, can be debilitating. All right. So, good claim to go after, right? A lot of these symptoms from one can make the other one worse. Okay. So, to the VA and the medical community, if it makes sense, and you are getting those triggers, right, from your service-related conditions to the claim you want to file for, definitely look into that, right? Key word is how is it causing it, or how is it making it worse, right? And another thing too, these secondary claims are great, right? Secondary claims are great. You know, something to look into, because you know, you don't need records from the military to do secondary claims, right? You need a current diagnosis to put your claim in. So, you know, VA likes to see you know, current diagnosis not older than a year or two, but the more recent, the better, right? So definitely, you know, go to the doctor, get your diagnosis, you know, and definitely, you know, look into putting those claims in. Migraines is a great claim to go after. It can get rated from 0, 10, 30, up to 50%. Great claim to go after.
Yeah, absolutely. Radiculopathy. Always say it wrong. Radiculopathy. Okay. When you see that fabulous word, secondary to a lot of things, but I think secondary to back disabilities, right? Back pain. I think that's a very common one. Sciatica is another word that you can kind of use to think of for radiculopathy. I think it's more common that we hear the word sciatica. But they are very, very common. That's a very common secondary condition caused by back injuries or trauma. Back pain, right? It can lead to radiculopathy by compressing spinal nerves, resulting in pain. What it is numbness and weakness in the limbs, right? So like that tingling sensation. And something I like to mention with this one is not only it's a secondary disability too, because you're looking at the potential for bilateral, right? So if you can have this for just your left leg, just your right leg, right? And vice versa, the upper half, because you can have upper and lower extremities, but you can have a rating for both. I myself have that, right? I have a left and right, so bilateral radiculopathy rating, and that really can increase that disability rating for you as well. But alone, it can go anywhere from 0 to 90%, depending on the frequency, the severity, and the duration of your symptoms. So it's really important not just to get a diagnosis for these things, but also have medical evidence, right, that supports the just that, right? The frequency, the severity, the duration of these symptoms. How bad is it, right? What have you done to, you know, all the different things you've had to do, injections, right? Medications. You can go through the list, right? If you have this. Definitely also, it's really common just in any of the back disabilities like the cervical strain, lumbosacral. I did not like saying that word. All right. But you know what I mean. If you got it, you know what I'm talking about. But it really irritates the nerves in the spine, right? And it leads to, because they're compressing, it leads to that radiculopathy with symptoms of that numbness, that tingling in the limbs. So that's a really good one. Even spinal stenosis, right? That's another one that's I think, very common. That's actually the one that I specifically have. So the compressing of the nerves, it causes that radiculopathy. And you get that radiating pain, right? That weakness, the numbness, and it can be arms or legs, right? Like I mentioned before. So if you have upper half or lower half.
Great info. And yes, great claim. Radiculopathy, that's what the VA calls it. But it's basically sciatic nerve pain, right? Go to your doctor, right? Get that diagnosed, put that on your medical records, and put it in as a secondary for already rated, right? For for your back issues. Go back to migraines, right? Migraine secondary to PTSD. That's a good high value claim, good claim to go after. PTSD can lead to migraines if you get a lot of tension, stress, and hyperactivity, right, in the nervous system. It could interfere, right, with your daily life. PTSD, if you have nightmares and you don't sleep, right, you don't get a good night's sleep, or it can lead to insomnia, right? It can trigger your migraines. I don't know about you, Coach Jen, but when I don't get a good night's sleep or I don't sleep well, I wake up and I feel like I've been partying all night, right? I'm tired, exhausted, and then my migraines, right? I get a headache all day. That's a good example, right? If you don't sleep well, wake up in the morning, that could trigger your migraines, right? If that's happening, definitely it's a good claim to go after. I mentioned the VA rates migraine 0, 10, 30, and 50%. The VA is looking for is prostrating attacks, right? How often do you have to lie down for your migraines to go away, right? If you have to lie down more than an hour, quiet, dark room, right? No light, happens at least once a month, period of 2 to 3 months, you could be at 30%, right? If it affects your work, economic impact, right? Calling sick, could be at 50%. So it's definitely a good claim to go after. Secondary to PTSD, I see a lot of vets get rated for that. So like I mentioned before, go to your doctor, right? Get your butt to the doctor, get that diagnosis, and then you can, start, looking into that claim.
And you can even start tracking those now on your own. There's
Yep.
actually a really good app, right? A lot of veterans use Migraine Buddy. You can download that on your phone for those of you that forget with all of our veteran short-term memory loss, right? To actually write things down. You can download that app on your phone, Migraine Buddy. There's a free version, and you can at least just start tracking so you can see the severity of your symptoms, right? Like how often you actually have them. That will really help out in the long run if you start doing that, definitely. Let's see, dive into another one. Restless leg syndrome, secondary to back conditions, right? Back conditions, especially those involving that nerve compression, can contribute to also restless leg syndrome. It causes uncontrollable leg movements and discomfort. So similarly, I know we talked about radiculopathy, but restless leg syndrome is different. There's a different scale for that as well. It can be 10%, 20%, 40%, or 60%, depending on the severity of those symptoms. And you can have that secondary to a neck condition as well. So neck conditions can sometimes lead to the nerve issues contributing to the restless leg syndrome. So it results, right, similarly with migraines and a lot of these disabilities, they disrupt your sleep. And you don't even get the joy of partying, right, Coach Juan? You just wake up feeling like crap, right? Without that, you didn't even do anything fun anymore, right? It's different when we were all younger, right? And woke up feeling crappy, but at least you had a fun night. No, not at this point, right?
No.
I'll tell you, I know that happens to me, right? I wake up and I'm like, man, didn't even get to do anything fun, right? Just wake up. So it really impacts your quality of life, right? It can really cause some of those other issues too. Okay.
It's sleep apnea, right?
Oh,
Sleep
the
apnea is a good
favorite.
one. Sleep
The
apnea
favorite.
secondary to PTSD. Keep in mind, sleep apnea is the number one denied claim, right? So if you're gonna, go after sleep apnea, doing it as a secondary, great option. Okay, sleep apnea secondary to PTSD can lead increasing stress, weight gain, right? Can contribute to the airway obstruction during sleep, right? That's what I'm rated for. If sleep apnea secondary to PTSD. And, just like all the other conditions, right, that you're going to file secondary claims, what are your triggers, right? How is it affecting it? How's your PTSD symptoms, making your sleep apnea worse? And the weight gain, right, medication that you take can affect your sleep apnea. Definitely, it's a high value claim. It gets denied a lot, but if you do it as a secondary claim, and those mental health PTSD symptoms, are making your sleep apnea worse, you got a good shot of getting it, right?
Absolutely. And even with sinusitis, right? That's another one. Sleep apnea can be secondary to the sinusitis and the rhinitis. A lot of vets have that, especially if you served during my time, right? We have the burn pits, right, out in Iraq and stuff. So there's a lot of conditions in this realm that you might have from that. So I know sinusitis and rhinitis can be common. So you can definitely have sleep apnea secondary to that, because it can, same thing, cause those nasal blockages leading to obstruction, right? Resulting in airflow during sleep. I think that it's important to mention too, there's a difference if you have the CPAP machine or not in your rating. It's prescribed is the key word here. I know some vets get stuck on how often they use it or whatever the case is, right? But if you need that for a breathing device and you have a CPAP machine, it does make a difference in your rating. Also important to note that you'll need a nexus letter to connect these, okay? So if you've done some research on finding nexus letters to connect that, it's not the easiest thing. We do partner with a preferred provider network. They are completely outside of us, but they do offer support for nexus letters for veterans. So, if you get with a coach, you'll get that resource as well. So something to think about if sleep apnea is something you're looking into, because like Coach Juan mentioned, it is the #1 denied claim. So you do want to make sure you've got good, solid evidence if you're going to go after sleep apnea secondary to anything.
Definitely 100%. Those nexus letters, independent medical opinions, those are huge, right? If you can get one, definitely will make your claim a lot stronger than without one. Okay. Like you mentioned, sleep apnea, secondary to upper respiratory condition, right? Sinusitis, rhinitis, right? That's what I'm rated for as well. Burn pits, right? I'm rated at 0, but it's fine. It's still service connected. So when I put in my claim for sleep apnea, I did it secondary to PTSD and secondary to rhinitis. So you can do a secondary claim to multiple conditions as well. That definitely will make your claim stronger with a nexus letter. So sleep apnea secondary to rhinitis, right? Rhinitis causes nasal inflammation, exacerbate airway obstruction, and lead to sleep apnea. So basically, rhinitis, seasonal allergies, right? If you have allergies, I was dealing with allergies for a long time after I got out of the military, and I was just treating it with over-the-counter medication. Then I started going to my doctor, and then they prescribed me the prescription medication, and I didn't even know that this was causing my sleep apnea to get worse. I just thought it was just part of the seasonal, right? If your nasal passages get blocked, makes it hard for you to sleep, right? So definitely it does affect your sleep apnea. Rhinitis is a good claim to go after, or any upper respiratory condition if you're thinking of filing for sleep apnea, because that definitely you'll have a better chance of getting your claim approved. But any upper respiratory condition, right, that you have and you're thinking about filing for sleep apnea, you'll have a good claim, right? It all depends on the triggers, right? Triggers and getting your butt to the doctor and getting your diagnosis for those conditions.
Yeah, absolutely. To that point, I always say if you're sitting around here and you're thinking about the fact that you have this disability and you haven't done anything about it, just get your butt to the doctor, right? If you watch any of VA Claims Insider videos, right, about that, you'll definitely see Brian Reese screaming that to you. Get your butt to the doctor, right? Because he is right. You can think about your disabilities all you want. But when it comes down to VA disability, right, medical evidence is so important. Not just that you need that diagnosis, you need that medical evidence, right, to do that. Sleep apnea too can be secondary to a deviated septum. Wanted to mention that because I have quite a few veterans who come to me with a deviated septum. It can, same thing as some of the other ones, it can cause that obstruction in that nasal airflow, right? It can, and it can contribute to sleep apnea. So it significantly can impair your sleep quality, and the same rating scales, right? So just a reminder for sleep apnea, that rating scale, it can be 0%, 30%, 50%, or 100%, okay?
So how
And there's
about,
also,
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I was just going to mention sleep apnea because I do have vets ask about this. It can be secondary to asthma, but there is something called pyramiding to be aware of, right? These are very similar disabilities. So if you do have asthma and then you go file sleep apnea secondary to that, they could, most likely they'll potentially take that asthma one away, right? And kind of put it with the sleep apnea one. So just something to think about if that is a claim you were going to go after.
Yeah, great information. Yeah, because if you're rated at 30% for asthma, and then you put in a sleep apnea claim, basically they'll take the 30% away and give you 50% for sleep apnea. So you'll be gaining a 20%. You're still winning, right? But just be aware of that, right? You're not going to get, they're not going to give you 50% for sleep apnea and 30% for asthma. Let's jump into vertigo. Right, vertigo secondary to tinnitus. Okay, that's a good claim, right, to go after. Tinnitus can be associated with vertigo due to disruptions in the inner ear, causing balance issues and dizziness. All right, medical opinion, right, independent medical opinion nexus letter linking tinnitus to vertigo. Highly recommend that, right, to get your medical opinion. VA rates vertigo, 10, 30%, right? Depending on your symptoms. Okay. But I've seen that, claim get approved quite often with, strong medical evidence, right? Current diagnosis, get a nexus letter, an independent medical opinion, and that's a strong claim, right? Strong claim to go after. And like, been mentioning it, you got to talk about your triggers, mention your triggers. How does your tinnitus affect your vertigo, right? Your dizziness, loss of balance. Do you have to lie down in bed? Do you get, that popping, right? You get that loud noise and you get that popping noise in your ear where it stops you right in your track. Do you feel like the room's upside down, right? Those are a lot of symptoms from vertigo, but tying it to tinnitus is very important. Okay, so that nexus letter and IMO will definitely help you. That link right to the military.
Absolutely. And even having it secondary to migraines, right? Like we touched on before, vertigo secondary to migraines. So if you're already rated for migraines, it's that dizziness and balance problems, right? Because migraines can contribute to vertigo through that neurological disruption. I think it's important to kind of start being aware because it's easy to not notice being dizzy, right? Or having balance problems. We just think we blow it off, right? Like, oh, I'm dizzy for a minute, right? I'll just sit down and I'm fine. But vertigo is very common, right? It's just unnoticed a lot. And if you're already suffering from tinnitus or migraines, then it's very possible that if you're getting dizzy or you're tripping, right, having these balance problems, that's vertigo. So get it checked, get your butt to the doctor, right? because once again, that can go from 10 to 30%. And, like Coach Juan mentioned, you really want to pay attention to the severity of your symptoms. I think once you start thinking about it and noticing it, you're like, wow, I have this a lot, right? This happens to me. I'm having issues doing a lot of things that I used to be able to do because my balance is off. If you like to play sports or do things like that, it really does impact your daily life. So you want to just start paying attention to that and make sure that you're really noticing that and going to the doctor and actually getting that diagnosis and going through that process.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely a good claim. I've seen a lot of success with that, with the correct medical evidence, with strong medical evidence. Highly successful claim if you have that. And I've had vets, tell me stories about that. That they get dizzy and they fall and hit their head, right, or they injure themselves. And those are kind of like the severe cases for vertigo, for dizziness. But I get them too, right? I get that. I'm not rated for it, but I know that if I put in for it, I got a good chance of getting it. And I've had instances where I'm driving, right, and that happens. I'm at a red light, and I'm like, I hope it doesn't turn green, anytime soon. So those are the kind of symptoms that you want to talk about, right, with any condition that you're filing for. So definitely, do your homework, right, when you're putting in claims. Look how the VA rates it and where are those symptoms, because you might think that these are the symptoms that I should be rated at, right? But the VA goes by their different, rating scales, right? Codes for every condition. So very important to know what symptoms the VA looks at, right, for any condition. Another one, right, that I think vets have, and I've experienced that, is sleep apnea secondary to GERD, back to sleep apnea, right? When you have that, that burning sensation in your stomach where you might have to put 2-3 pillows, right, on the bed so you could lie to go to sleep. Probably not going to get a good night's sleep, kind of like sleeping in a chair, right, up all day. So that's a good claim, right? That's a good claim to look into. It can lead to sleep apnea causing inflammation, narrowing of the airway during sleep. Okay, so a lot of vets do suffer from that, even taking medication, right? Sometimes medication doesn't help. Sometimes you might have to double or triple up, or sometimes you do that and you still get it, right? You still get the burning sensation. So that's a good claim to look into. The problem with that, sometimes is, vets think that sleep apnea, it's an easy claim to go after, right? I can put it in, I have it. I see this a lot too, where vets say, well, I got already the diagnosis from the VA hospital, right, for sleep apnea. I want to put the claim in. You still got to link it to the military, right? How did the military cause it? Was it directly linked, or was it made worse by an already service-related condition? So something to keep in mind.
Yeah. And we didn't mention plantar fasciitis, which I think is another important one. A lot of vets suffer from that. And plantar fasciitis secondary to any musculoskeletal conditions. Okay. So musculoskeletal conditions, meaning the back, the hip, or knee problems. I know that's very, very common, right? For veterans, it can alter the gait. It leads to plantar fasciitis by putting additional strain on the foot's arch. I think that it is definitely very common for vets to have this. And like everything else, you need a diagnosis. You need to be paying attention to the severity of that. But also it can be unilateral versus bilateral symptoms, right? There's differences there. But that can be rated from 10%, 20%, or 30%. It's important to recognize that VA does recognize that the body breaks from the ground up, right? So there's a lot of secondary movement that can be done when you're dealing with musculoskeletal conditions. So definitely pay attention to that. And similarly to what Coach Juan mentioned, the rating scale itself is important, right? I mean, I think as vets, we feel, right, that things should be a certain rating because it's severe in our minds of how it is. but you are limited, right, to VA disabilities, rules and regulations and requirements, similar to everything, right? I always say we're all vets, right? We were all in the military. I think that we know things are not always done because we think they're logical, right? They're done because this is the rule, the regulation, the requirement. So you do want to pay attention to what those rating scales are for exactly what you're looking at, and then that's how your severity of your symptoms are going to reflect, right, when you're going through this process. But musculoskeletal conditions and having something secondary to them, especially like the plantar fasciitis or even the radiculopathy that we talked about before, are really good secondary claims to go after.
Yeah, yep, great info. Real quick, before we get into the answer the Q&A session, what about back, right? Back, making your mental health worse, right? Anxiety, sleep issues, right? Any ortho condition, right, is making your symptoms for mental health worse. So, that's definitely a good one that I've seen, very successful claim to go after. Keep mentioning it, go to your doctor, right? Get your diagnosis. Look into getting a nexus letter, your own independent medical opinion whenever you, are thinking of filing a secondary claim.
Yeah, those are absolutely important. Definitely. Well, I know you guys are burning with questions, right? Lucky you. All right. We have a fabulous question and answer portion here now. Just to recap, though, real quick about the topic. And Coach Juan and I could talk about secondary conditions all day long, right? There's plenty of them. We just kind of discussed some of the top ones. But just to recap a little bit about VA Claims Insider, right? Strategy, education, medical evidence. Very, very important. And once again, if you enjoyed this, right, you enjoyed hearing from myself or Coach Juan, you can get to our sign up links here and get one-on-one coaching from either one of us, right, or any of the veteran coaches here at VA Claims Insider. But you'll get that strategy session. You're going to get claim submission education. You're going to get CMP exam education. All right. We've got the live classes via Zoom that we offer every week. We've got coffee with the coaches. So fabulous. Okay. It's a great community. The Vet Network is the best network, right? So come join us. We've got that mental health exam education. We've got CMP exam education. We've got question and answer portions when you come to those Zoom classes as well. And don't forget, Brian's new book, VA Claims Secrets, is now available. You can order it on Amazon, it's .com, Amazon anytime. All right, today. That's a great thing. And if you just want to learn more, okay, if you don't want to go directly to signing up with a coach, don't forget, you can do a free discovery call anytime with one of our team members, the veteran ambassadors. They're great. They can help you with basic questions. They can explain the program, go over all of that first if you prefer. You can go to vaclaims.help for that. You can also go to vaclaimsinsider.com where you can directly sign up with any of the coaches, or you can go ahead and once again sign up for that discovery call first with the veteran ambassadors. Okay, so we definitely would love to partner with you on your VA Claims Insider journey. So that we're here for you and we love it. So please give us more, right?
All right, so let's jump into the questions. What do you think?
Oh yeah, so many fabulous ones.
So I got a question here from Carlos Barreto. OSA, obstructive sleep apnea, service connected at 0%. Now with a CPAP, can increase that. Definitely look into the how the VA rates sleep apnea, right? Look at the the rating codes for it. And get your medical evidence, right? Get your sleep study, get your prescription, right, for your sleeping equipment, which is your CPAP. See where you qualify, right? Should be at the 50% for sleep apnea. And definitely, get with one of our coaches, right? Guide you the right way, give you good information on, how to get your claim, moving forward. All right. So yeah, definitely just get your medical records together. and you should be good.
Okay. Yeah, we got a question in here from Tony Bruscato. Sorry if I said that wrong. Why on secondary conditions that are approved, you do not get a rating? So just to mention, you do get a rating, right? If it's approved. However, I'm going to assume that maybe you're talking about 0% on that one. A lot of veterans feel like 0% is not approved, right? Not a rating. 0% is considered a rating to the VA. They are saying, hey, we acknowledge this, right? We acknowledge that you have this disability. However, like we mentioned when we were talking about all of these conditions, the severity, right? The duration, the frequency, that's where the key is for the percentage, right? So if you're getting a lower percentage than you feel like you deserve for something that did get approved, it's most likely because you didn't express that well enough, whether it be in your medical evidence or on that C&P exam. That's really what that compensation and pension exam is for. Okay, so it's important that when you go to that exam, which I know that a lot of veterans, because it's the third party, right? So you get there and you just feel like whatever, and they ask you maybe 1 or 2 questions. It can be short, right? It could feel very cold. So that's your response back. But that is your opportunity to express the severity and the frequency of those disabilities. And that can make a huge difference on whether or not you get a 0%, a 10%, 20%, depending on what that scale is for that specific disability, which is the other key. It depends on the specific disability, right? Not all conditions are the same. So depending on what you applied for, there's a lot of disabilities that you'll see that just get 0%, right? Like hypertension, hearing loss, very common to go through that, but still get a 0%. ED, that's another one, right? 0%. Something to think about if you got approved for something and you got a 0%. That's probably why.
All right. Got a good question here from Anthony Paglia. I filed on my own last year, got 90% in January and hit 100 in March. Had a good number of denials. If they are not something that will kill me, such as lower back, is it worth appealing? So, once you're at 100%, right, P&T, permanent total, anytime you file a claim after that, there is the potential that the VA will reopen the claims, right, and rate all of them. So, there's the potential of that. So you have to, know what the risk is, right, for you. Is it worth it, right? Is it worth going after that claim and having potentially having all your claims reopened? So definitely look into that. You got to decide for yourself, but just be aware of that, right? That there's that potential risk, and if it's worth your 100%.
Yeah. Good question here from Sandy Robertson. Okay, what about back/hip pain and difficulty walking/standing/bending over and difficulty with activities of daily living due to degenerative disc disease? So absolutely, right? Secondary. So if you are already rated for degenerative disc disease, so that's step 1. Okay. So you got to be rated for it, right? But if that's the key, there's actually quite a few secondary conditions that would fall into what you're talking about. I myself am actually rated for degenerative disc disease, and I have 3 other back disabilities secondary to that. So radiculopathy on both my legs, right? So bilateral on my right and my left leg, okay, are secondary to that. And then there is specific disability, back pain, right? I actually do have back pain as another rated disability secondary to the degenerative disc disease, similar to your point, because, right, bending, the difficulty of just daily life, right? It really does start to impact you and how you move and how you function and what you do. That's exactly where these secondary conditions come into play, because you've got one thing, it is now causing you to have all of these other difficulties in your daily life. There's quite a few disabilities that are available within having back pain. So look into that to see which ones you qualify for. But absolutely, with these symptoms that you're talking about, that would probably, back pain would probably be one of the best ones to look into for secondary for that. Get it diagnosed. get your butt to the doctor though.
Yeah.
That's the key. You can't just think about the fact that you have it and know you have it. Don't forget.
Yeah. Medical evidence wins claims, right?
Ain't that the truth? We'll say it a lot to you. Medical evidence wins claims.
All right. So we got a question here from Daryl Marler. What if I was denied for mental health condition in the past, but just now got my 10% for tinnitus? Can I file a new secondary claim for mental health? Absolutely. Right. So you got denied in the past. This is going to be a supplemental claim, right? So you're going to appeal it. But you definitely want to submit this claim, right, with new and relevant evidence. Something to think about, which will be new and relevant evidence and strong medical evidence, is get your nexus letter, get an IMO, right? Get a doctor saying that, your tinnitus does make or causes your mental health. Okay, so that's a good claim, as we talked about, to go after. But yes, I mean, if you've been denied in the past, and this goes for everybody, you can always come back and appeal it, right? As many times, as you need to. Just because you were denied once by the VA doesn't mean that that's the final word, right? That's just one doctor, one VA rater's medical opinion, right? So it's not over until you say it's over.
Yeah, that's great. Great information. A good one here, Mike Ski. I think this is a common question. Can you do secondaries to secondaries, or do they limit it, right? Absolutely not, right? If you get rated for something, then you can have a secondary to it, right? Once you get that rating, you now have it, right? And so if you have now a secondary condition to that, absolutely file that claim, right? Get that medical evidence, get that diagnosis. But absolutely, you can do secondaries to secondaries. Okay.
Yeah, that's a pretty good question. Great question. All right, we got a question here. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Lazy Prepper says, I have a 90% rating. It's so hard to break the last 10%, right? It is, right? According to the VA math, 80 plus 20 does not equal 100. So, once you get to the 90% overall rating, you could be at 85%, or you could be at 94%, right? Like Coach Jenna. So, that could be the difference between needing a 10% or another 100%, to get you there. All right. So, yes, it is a little bit more difficult once you get closer to 100%, but it's not impossible, right? We get a lot of vets that do get it. They end up getting to 100%. Never thought they could get there, right? And there's some vets that, some of them, they're not going to get to 100%, right? That's it. That's where they're going to be at. But you definitely do your homework, right? Look into the secondary claims, look into what you have in your medical evidence, and then you could get, good game plan of, how to get there, right? But yeah, definitely, getting with a coach and getting a strategy call, will not hurt at all, right? So visit vaclaims.help to schedule a discovery call.
Absolutely. And we have a fabulous calculator on our website too. You can look up and do the calculation to see exactly what percentage you need. But if you go to vaclaimsinsider.com, there is a lot of information there. I like to say it's sort of like Google for disability benefits, but we have a calculator on there. You can do that. You can see exactly where you're at, or once again, get with a coach, right? That's our specialty. We're getting close on time here, but we got one more question here. Frederick Rogers, what if your rhinitis is 0%? Can you put a sleep apnea as secondary? Absolutely, right? Coach Juan has that same situation, right? 0%, once again, that is a rating, everybody. Okay, I know to you, make a joke sometimes, it's kind of like a middle finger maybe, but it's 0% it means you're rated. So you can have any secondary condition to a 0%, okay? Definitely.
Yep. 0% means you're service connected. It's saying that your disability is not your symptoms, right? You don't have any, it's not affecting you. But the VA did admit that the military caused it, right? So as long as you have that service connection, even if that's 0%, that's a win for you, right? It's a positive. And I've had, I had vets get rated on high value claims just on 0% for, for other conditions, right? Doesn't mean that your symptoms aren't bad enough. It's just saying that the VA has, acknowledged that, right? That you're at 0%. So anytime I see vets with 0%, I always ask them or talk to them about, has it gotten worse? Is it worse?
Yep.
Do you have any symptoms? And most of the time, it's an increase.
Yep. Absolutely. Look into that. Increases. Well, it's been fabulous, everyone. We're coming up here on time. Please make sure you can sign up with either one of us, right? Coach Juan or myself here. We've got our information available to you, or you can go to vaclaimsinsider.com at any time as well. And this has been amazing. It truly was. All right. So I hope everyone has a fabulous, great day on purpose after this.
That was awesome. Awesome class, Coach Jenna. Thank you for joining us. All right, everybody. Have a great rest of the day, and we will see you next Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.